Hey everyone, very excited to be here with you. My name's Saskia. I'm the founder of the Institute for Art and Olfaction based here in Los Angeles. So we're here with Spyros Drosopoulos for the latest edition of our speaking series, which is Meet a Nose. Our online conversation series, Meet a Nose. If you haven't been to a Meet a Nose talk, they're very informal, but it basically takes the form of a 1 hour discussion moderated by me, in which extraordinary thinkers, singular artists, and distinctive perfumers from around the world share their unique perspectives on what it means to be a sensorial human in the world. We do post these on YouTube and Vimeo if you want to check past editions. We've had some really amazing people on this series. And today we're joined by the equally amazing Spyros, calling in from Athens, right? Currently, Spyros?
Totally right. Yes. Athens, Greece.
So what we're going to do is just have a chat, and then towards the end, or actually during the course of our conversation, like, please don't hesitate to pop questions in the chat. I'll be definitely moderating, and we'll make time for your questions. And I guess that's kind of it. Spirits, are you ready to be meet a nosed?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. So Spiros, with the Meet and Know series, I kind of like to start at the way beginning, like getting to the roots of people's practices, which is always somehow informed by their upbringing. So can you sort of share a little bit, your young life? Where were you raised? Who were your parents? Do you have a sister or a brother? Things
Oh,
like
wow, that young. Okay,
that.
sure, yes.
Yeah.
Born in the Netherlands, raised in Athens. My mom's Dutch, my father Greek. I finished high school in Athens, then I moved to the Netherlands to study psychology, which I did finish, and then I did my PhD in Germany, and from there I moved back to the Netherlands, worked as a postdoc for a while at the University of Amsterdam. And then at the young age of 33 years only, I fell down the rabbit hole of perfumery.
What prompted you to fall down that rabbit hole of perfumery? Like, what was the thing that introduced you to the practice?
I think I've always had a keen interest in smells and taste, though I never gave it much thought before that. So I've always caught myself smelling flowers, but also being intrigued by also the not so nice smells. And during my studies, perfume became started becoming important. I studied psychology because I was interested in, like the human behavior basically. And what I discovered with perfume is that it kind of, at least in my experience, from my personal experience, I felt that the perfume that I was wearing could influence the way people interact with me. So I found that a very interesting data. So I started experimenting by wearing different kinds of perfume. So I was kind of like doing my own experiments. And yeah, I really like scent as well. So I would already go to stores and I could spend hours smelling different perfumes. So there was the early signs of a big interest. But then during my PhD, when I discovered,
What
oh,
topic was
sorry,
it in? No, it's okay. What
sorry.
topic was your PhD in?
Sleep and memory consolidation. So it's kind of like a cognitive neuroscience thing. And during my PhD, that was in the early 2000s, I discovered the niche segment. So then by hearing about brands like Andy Towers and Azomato, I was like, hey, wait a minute. These people really make perfume themselves. How does that work? So that was for me the first time where I actually started researching how perfumes are being made and how could it work. So from there, slowly but steadily, I found some courses. I took a course, and that was in September 2009. So that kickstarted the whole thing. From that moment, I was I was
Hooked.
obsessed. But yeah, I think obsessed. Yeah, I think obsessed kind of covers
You
the
still are. What
yeah.
was the first niche brand you discovered, and how was it introduced to you? You mentioned to Andy Tower and Nasamato. Like, where did you find?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was kind of like browsing. I don't remember if it was Base Notes or Fragrantica, and I was reading some review about a perfume that I had just purchased, and it was a Givenchy, so it was like a mass market, and somebody just compared or dropped a name that I'd never heard of about. Like, and I think it was Lene at the time, probably
Oh,
the
yeah.
Let Me Play the Lion perfume. So I was like, hey, that's a brand I've never heard about. So I Googled them, I found it, and I was like, hey, this is interesting. This is kind of like a different segment. I didn't know this existed.
And Ligne is, you're talking about the brand from Belgium? Is that
From Switzerland.
Switzerland? My apologies. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Um, so then, in Lübeck, where I did my PhD, there was no niche perfumery at the time, but I was going often to Berlin and to Hamburg. So especially in Berlin, I went down. I started researching. I was like, hey, there's this whole other segment. So I just went there for the first time. It was the different scent, the store in Berlin. Yeah, and I was like, wow.
Mm.
Wow, what is
What
this?
is this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the first sort of indie niche perfume that caught you? That got, like, for me it was Absinthe by Nessomatto. That was my
Uh,
first introduction to niche, and I was like, what the heck? What about you?
so I think I don't really remember the first because yeah, but so definitely Lene was a brand that I read from somebody in a review, so that made me curious. But so I think my first time in niche perfumery was in Berlin in the different sense. So yeah, they had many brands. So of course, I had already heard about Andy Tower and I'd heard about Nasomatto. So probably those and Mona Diorio. So those three were kind of like my first introduction. So all three perfumers, all three with their own brands. So I was like, okay, so this is interesting. This is like, let's see how this works.
Yeah. So how did it work? And what did you do next?
What I did next, well, I gifted myself a workshop, a 2 hour make your own perfume workshop in the Netherlands as a birthday present, which
Where?
sorry?
With who? Where?
With the Hekserij, which is a
Oh, yeah.
company in the Netherlands that started off, I think, as selling raw materials for DIY cosmetic makers, and then at some point they also shifted or included perfumery because it was like like around the 2008 crisis, so a lot of people started making things themselves. And I think at some point they also decided to introduce raw materials like aroma chemicals and everything. So I think they were one of the first who were doing that together with probably Perfumer's Apprentice in California and maybe Perfumers World in Thailand. So I discovered them all around the same time. So I don't know who was really first, and I don't really care also, to be honest. But anyway, and I saw that they were offering a make your own perfume 2 hour workshop. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna do that. So I gifted that to myself. And then I did the course. I couldn't do it in February, which is normally when my birthday is. But so I did it in September, half a year later for two practical reasons. That was in 2009, and from there on, I was sold. So I started really just buying any raw material I could get my hands on. Started reading. Like I had a small attic room that was like I don't know. 3 square meters, well, no, 10 square meters. Like you had it was like a little desk and that's in the window. So, and a
Is this
chair
still
fitted in.
you're still in Lubeck at this point? In
No,
Belgium?
I'm already back in Amsterdam
Oh, you're
now.
back in Amsterdam.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm back in Amsterdam.
Oh, that's right. That's
And so I started to set up a little lab there, just making experiments, like random basically, of just trying things out based on what I thought sounded nice on paper. Um, yeah, that's how and at first it was a hobby, obviously. Like I didn't decide on first instance that I was going to be a perfumer, but fast forward 2 years later when my experiment started smelling a little bit better, and I was like, okay, this is something that I might be comfortable asking for money for. So like the first 2 years, everything I made was just horrible. Um,
Wait, was there a material you were gravitating to, though, in those first, like, for instance, when I first started, I became really obsessed with the ebanol and then methylcyclopentenolone and things like that. Like, was there a material that sort of you remember from that time that defines that practice?
No, not really,
No?
to be honest. I think I found everything equally interesting, and it was more about figuring out, like what they do, but how, yeah, how they smell, how they develop. So I knew that, that it was a numbers game. So that, every material has its own profile. And so sometimes you can combine things and you can create a novel scent. But I already quickly started realizing that, like there's specific molecules with specific scents. And so basically like I undiscriminately started purchasing everything that I could get my hands on. And yeah, this is still actually how I go about my materials. So I just order a lot of samples and everything new and stuff like that, and then I try to figure out what I can do with them.
So then in 2011, you said you started thinking you might be able to do this professionally, or so what
Yeah,
changed?
exactly. Yeah. So that was then, so 2 years, first 2 years, I just loved the process. And, but the creations themselves, they were unbalanced, bad, like just genuinely like
Do you
nothing to
still have
write home
them? Like, do you
about,
have the
like
formulas from that era?
I
'Cause-
probably still have formulas, yes, from that era.
Oh,
So
it'd be
I,
cool to see those.
yeah, maybe one day, when we do a retrospect exhibition or something. I don't know.
Lifetime
But
achievement.
yeah, so but I just enjoyed the process, I enjoyed the making, the blending, the compounding. So it was like a spiritual experience for me, very meditative, very, very calming. You just sit in concentration and you blend and you count. So that's something that I enjoyed the process. And then even though I was disappointed when I smelled the result, obviously, because of course I thought that it's going to be a brilliant idea. But then when I smelled it, I was like, okay, I guess it's not that brilliant. It's probably more crap. But I still found it very intriguing to understand, okay, so why does this smell the way that it does, and how can I get it to where I want it to go? So this was, yeah, that was something that really got me hooked personally. And it's still what I find the most interesting thing in perfumery, I guess, the discovering and the exploration and the trial and error. Like it's not like after 15 years of doing this, now I can just write a formula and boom, it's exactly how I want it to be. Still, I feel like making perfume is like painting with your eyes closed. So yeah.
I never heard you say that. That's so cool. Okay, so because Spiros is a Lamborghini, he needs to be. I'm shuffling you in a direction. So I'd like to hear about the beginning of your brand. So I know, for instance, I know you started the brand and there was some trouble with naming. So can you talk about those early years of what became Baruti?
Yeah, so I think in 2011 I was like, okay, now I'm ready to take it to the next step. So I started thinking about a brand. I had four compositions that I was finalizing to the point where I was like, okay, this is going to work. And so actually it was three and a half. So it was Indigo, which is still part of the collection. Um, Tindre, which is also still part of the collection. And then there was one that I called Untitled 2 at that time. That was actually Chai, because it was not inspired. Indigo and Tindre, back in the days, that made total sense to me, were inspired by a concept. So we were like a top-down development. So I had the idea and then I worked on making it. And then chai was like a bottom up. So I had
Mm,
basically the materials and I reworked them into something that I liked. So
mm,
I didn't want to. So I thought, okay, these are going to be my Untitled series because basically they start from the raw materials and then we see what they become. Anyway, so that was chai. And then there was also supposed to be Untitled One, which was a jasmine soliflower, which took me a little bit longer to complete at the end. So that was released a year later.
mhm.
So these are the four. And the jasmine I also discontinued for various reasons because as I discovered quickly afterwards, because of the high content of methylphenolate in the formula and the indole, it discolored so severely.
Oh, yeah.
Like some bottles turned completely red, like blood red, and some others
Wow.
were a little bit more yellow, some others were more brown. So I was like, that's, how you learn on the fly. So that I learned about shift bases and stuff like that because I mixed it
The
that way.
methyl and phenolate. Yeah.
Yeah, the smell is still fantastic. Like I still have bottles in storage from that. Yeah, and then but then so the name was as it turned out, the name that I chose for my brand was property of a big firm. So once I launched the brand, they popped up somewhere. So at some point they send me a letter that, this is our trademark, so you're infringing. So maybe stop or we'll destroy you. No, it wasn't so bad, but anyways, but I couldn't continue. So
Right.
um,
Was that moment, was that a scary moment, or well, I doubt you were scared because you're Spiros, but like was there a moment there where you were like, shit, I might not be able to do this, or were you just like immediate adaptation?
it was, I mean, 2000, that all happened in 2014, which was already one of the most difficult years um, that I personally had to go through. It definitely, well, it never crossed my mind to stop,
Mhm.
but I did realize that I'm in trouble because obviously I had spent my money and my savings in setting up the first brand. It was still early times for niche, so I knew that, for example, with the first brand, there were people who were chasing me and they wanted to have the brand because they wanted to have any brand at the time. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start all over again. And then, I told them, okay, wait, give me some time. By the time in 2015, when Baruti was launched, of course, the landscape had already changed. The market was a lot more saturated. So the same people who were calling me in 2012, 2013, like, hey, we saw you have a niche brand. We really like the packaging. Can we have it in our store? And I told them, nah, wait, I need to relaunch. We're like, yes, I remember you. Yeah. The queue is in the back, please. Can
Yeah. Were you like, come on, I was an original?
Exactly. Yeah, 2 years ago you were begging me, and now.
It's so frustrating, I'm sure. So,
So
but you obviously successfully launched Baruti, and so what
I
is the
launched Baruti. I
what is
wouldn't
the
say successfully.
my question? What is
Oh,
the
sorry.
genesis of the name? Like, what was the thing
Well,
that inspired the brand conceptually?
so so Baruti means gunpowder in Greek, right? And in Greek, you use the name um, when you want to express something that has bite or edge. It can also be a little bit more, if you enter like a bar somewhere and you say like, oh, it smells like gunpowder here, it means like there's tension in the air. Maybe we
Oh,
get
I
out
see.
because
I see.
it could
It's like
be
hot or something.
explosive.
Yeah.
So I really like that thing, and of course, having had the experience myself, where yeah, I was a little bit barutized. So because I was, like you're frustrated, you're aggravated, you're sad, so I was like, oh,
You were in a
and then I was
mood.
like,
Yeah.
wow, this is amazing. This is the name of my new brand. So this is
And how
kind
did
of.
that name influence your approach to the products that you put out with the brand? Like, is there something that you would say defines them that relates to
Yeah, for
the business?
sure. So, one other thing that I realized with the first brand that was called Magnetic Scent was that it's jolly hard to ship 50 ml perfume bottles because they're dangerous goods. And I had already in that time met personally with people like Andy Tower and Alessandro Galtieri, and especially with Alessandro, who was also based in Amsterdam. Um, I wouldn't want to go. We didn't hang out, but he did, like help me, and we did meet, and like a couple of times, and we still do, by the way. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But So I asked him, like, why did you choose the 30 ml? Because at that time, he was one of the few brands who had the 30 ml. And one of the reasons was like, hey, it's super easy to ship because it's accepted quantities. It's not limited quantities. So I was like, amazing. And then I was like, Baruti, so it has to be strong. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna turn them into extrait de parfum. So then it's also fine if you have a 30 ml bottle, and it's
Which is
gonna make my
fun.
life easy in the
Yeah.
beginning until I get my paper courses and everything. So now, of course, in the meantime, I also did all the courses. So IATA, blah, 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 dangerous goods shipments. So I can also ship anything. But at that time, I was like, okay, I was like a solo company. It was one man show. Nowadays, okay, I have people working for the company, but at that time I was doing everything. So from the formulas, the legislation, the production, the shipping, the administration, everything. So yeah, I was like, okay, I don't have CPU available to also go into the shipping dangerous goods thing. So I was like, okay, Baruti is gunpowder, so it should be strong and potent. So 30 ml is going to be fine.
Okay. Okay. So smaller, stronger. At what
Yeah.
point in your life did you discover Tabanon and what did you love about it?
Tabanon was actually one of the early molecules that entered my collection. And yeah, it's an amazing molecule. So I've been looking for ways to incorporate it, like it's a single. Many people often say that, like the molecules, they don't have the complexity of the essential oils, but I don't agree. Actually, I think that sometimes molecules have so many different facets that it's almost hard to imagine that it's just one single molecule that has so many different angles. And Tabanon is definitely a very versatile material. Of course, it has the green tobacco note, but it also has a little bit of a more like caramel. Smoky facet. It is very metallic, very yeah. That's in the profile. So it has very different facets. So yeah, for me, it was an amazing molecule. And the very first time that I used it was actually in a bespoke perfume that I did for a Greek fashion brand already a long time ago. We did very limited edition perfume. So I did a Tabanon cucumber, kind of like a gin tonic
Ooh.
kind of perfume with a lot of Tabanon. So, and then from there we also did and then from a perfume that later evolved into Perverso. So.
Were there other molecules like Tabanon that you felt were lent themselves to your brand's approach of perfume? Like, are there some signature smells that you tend to work with over and over in
No,
Baruti?
I don't think, I think in terms of signet, well, I mean, I think it's probably with, because I'm a curious person by nature, so I want to explore. So I'm not stuck up on a single, like also Tabanon is a
I
molecule is
know
my
that was
favorite,
actually
but
meant to be a joke,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
thought that
But
you would
there's
accept
only
it.
one perfume that has it, like even though I love it.
I
So
know.
I don't yeah, like at this point, I think I still have so many things to discover where I don't see the point of repetition. Maybe one day I'll be like, okay, I think I've smelled it all. I know all the molecules, and then I start, like doing multiple versions of themes that I've already explored. But at this moment, I don't see the point for that.
But yeah, but and
Um,
yet there is sort of a signature. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't know how to describe it, but I feel like I recognize your touch in your perfumes. With one or two exceptions, like Damacupa, for instance. Let's talk about Damacupa. That's like this very potent oricey smell.
mhm.
I was wearing it yesterday actually to prepare myself, and but there's something about it that it's beyond it. There's like that extra punch in it that I feel is very definitive of your style, at least a Baruti. So
Okay. Yeah.
maybe it's that gunpowder aspect, but I always feel like you go that next step in terms of potency sometimes, or often. Does that ring true for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is something that, yeah, the potency, of course, especially when you're talking about the extrait, is something that, of course, I feel like I need to embed.
Mhm.
But then stylistically, I think because I like to work with contrasting notes very often, so there is a lot going on in the perfume. So yeah, there's this sort of complexity or how you want to call it, or the layers peeling. So for sure. So this is kind of like a signature. Although I think that I've also done quite a few monolithic perfumes like hot cotton or nude, for
That would be an
example.
exception, actually. I feel
Yeah.
like that's one of the
So
exceptions I was thinking.
but this is exception that confirms the rule that, like at the end of the day, if I find it interesting, that's what's the most important thing for me. Interesting but wearable. Like I'm not into avant-garde for the sake of weird for being weird or anything. I mean, I can do that, but then it's an art project. But
Right.
anyway, so yeah, so yeah, both with Baruti and with Magnetic Scent, I think the signature is more in the contrast, in the layering, than in the certain material. Because I mean, of course, there's like there's musk, so you will find musk in most of the perfumes, but there's also chai, for example, like isoe. But then again, chai, which is a bestseller, doesn't have any isoe in it, so there's not. I'm not too stuck up on, oh, I need to have this, or I love this material, so I'm putting it everywhere. Maybe in 10 years time, like I have a signature that I just want to put everywhere, and but I don't know. At the moment, I find it's still, I feel like a toddler, so I'm still discovering. So, and I think there's so much to discover that, there's no
And
point.
where do you learn about the new materials or molecules? Is it just following up on sort of industry news? This is a question from Cornell. No, Gina. Where you discover the new molecules? Just from research, or how do you find that?
Well, research, then there is a fair, at least in Europe. It's called Simpar, which
Same.
is I think it's from the French Association of Perfumers or something like that, or at least they're involved. So it used to be every second year in Paris, and now for a couple of years now, since after COVID, they're doing it annually. So it's 1 year in Paris, 1 year in Grasse. So that's like a very um, easy entry because they don't have a high entry fee or anything. It's just more or less all the producers. So you have all the big houses like IFF, Firmenich, Givaudan, blah blah blah, Robert Heyman, but also a lot of independent producers, natural materials like an essential oil producer from Nepal or from Australia or from I don't know. So it's 2 days. So that's kind of like the highlight of my year, where I center everything around it. Simpar. This year it's in Grasse, so if anybody wants to go, by all means. So there, of course, everybody is showing their new material. So that's one. And then, of course, I'm also researching myself. So I'm researching all the known suppliers once in a while, just go over the catalog, and I'm like, oh, that's a material, I've never heard of this one. Okay, order, blah blah blah. So then, like
And the
then,
catalogs are findable on their website. This is first,
yeah.
like
And I think also at some point, when you have a brand, and like in my case, also, and you have placed a couple of orders, some suppliers also start contacting me, and they're letting me know, like, hey, we have a new vanilla, or we have a new osmanthus, or we have a new molecule X. Are you interested? Shall I send you samples? And of course, the answer is always yes, please. So yeah, that's also how I discover new stuff.
so listen, you're now working, within this or interested in this field or practice since 2009, 11, whatever.
Mhm.
It's changed obviously quite a bit since that time.
Yeah.
What do you think are the main points of evolution that you've seen in the indie sort of niche space that you occupy?
I think there's yeah, I think I mean the market and the field has grown incredibly. So there's definitely a lot more new players. So like our yeah the mission of the institute, for example, to democratize scent is working because there's more and more people who are entering the fields who are not born French in a perfumer's family, generations, blah blah blah, which is like yeah a little bit the cliche. You have to be either a chemist, work at a big company, get trained, and then you can, after 10 years, you can start making perfumes, blah, 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 yada. So it's definitely, so it's definitely opening up. Yeah, and I think that's a good thing, you know. So some people, it's getting a little bit like, like pop music, I guess, you know, like you have just everybody is can grab a guitar and start a band or record at their home studio, and the same is kind of happening with perfume. It also means that not everybody is going to make it, and you know, I think that the establishment in perfumery are kind of disappointed that, you know, when they started 20, 30 years ago, there was like a job guarantee, and if you had done the right steps in the industry, study chemistry, go to IFF, do an internship, blah blah blah, do the school, you had a job for life. And yeah, now it's the same thing as, you know, like learning to play a musical instrument. You know, some people become famous rock musicians or classical musicians, and uh, um, some
Don't.
quit because they
Yeah.
don't make it. But
Yeah.
it's okay.
So, but it does also mean that for folks who came a little bit earlier in this process, you know, um, it's both you both have an advantage in that you're already established to a degree before it got quote democratized. But then also, you know, there's increasing, you know, attention or competition for people's attention and frankly money. So I mean, how do you? And I know a lot of perfumers who are mad about it. They're mad about it. How do you feel about it? Like, do you feel like this is something that you personally find problematic in your practice, or no problem?
Well, I mean, I guess I am relatively already an old, you know, like because I'm doing it
You're
already for
established. Yeah.
15 years. So I definitely think that if I start now, if I was now 33 or whatever, and I wanted to be a perfumer and started, yeah, there's a lot more noise. So you have to push a little harder. I already experienced that difference, you know, between 2012 when I came out with Magnetic Scent versus 2015 when I came out with Baruti. The landscape had changed completely, and it's gotten even more competitive. At the same time, I think that if you have an original voice, there's always people who want to listen. So, you know, like sometimes, and it's also not like even in my case personally, it's not like you know, I went overnight. Baruti took me easy 3 to 4 years before it started generating substantial income. So yeah, so you know, like I would definitely advise everybody who has a day job, don't quit it yet. You know, wait a little bit before you take that decision. And yeah, I mean, the thing with perfumery is that you need a relatively low investment in order to start. And this is also why a lot of people start brands, because with 50K on your bank account, you can start a brand. You know, you have nice bottles, you have good perfumes from good perfume houses or from famous perfumers. But then, you know, you're just one of the other 500,000 brands that get launched every year. So if you don't have something interesting to say and or preferably also some marketing budget, it's still going to be jolly hard to make it. So you see a lot of you go to Essence and you see a lot of brands that are super enthusiastic and they just launched and they've done everything right. Then yeah, next year they're gone
Yeah.
because there's too many of them.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
it's
it is. I mean, like everything else, it's sort of it normalizes itself through supply and demand. You know, like that's when people start really expressing concern about the oversaturation or you know the clutter, you know, or whatever. I always feel like yeah, but like film, like when YouTube came out, it democratized films, you know, like or content creation, and people were just wringing their hands and tearing their hair out about the fact that like the filmmakers weren't going to make a living anymore. And to a degree, they're correct, but the demand from the people sort of ended up defining who was able to do it in the end. You know, so I feel like it's the same in perfumery.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I never heard anybody say, oh, there's too many movies being made, or too many books being written, or too many music albums being recorded, or too many photographs being taken, or anything, you know? So, yeah, okay. So perfumery is now at that, which we reach the state of adulthood where, you do it if you love doing it, and then see what happens. And especially for the indies, like there's also, because let's be honest, most launches, everything is just dupes and flankers and everything. And as a professional perfumer, I also get approached by a lot of people who want to start their brand. And first, everybody is like, "Yeah, I wanted something super original and cool and high quality, blah blah blah." And then as you go along, there's like, "Ah, I want this perfume. Can you copy that?" And I'm like, okay, so join the club. Okay, sure, I can do that, but yeah, it's up to you. Yeah, it's
Get that
gonna.
a lot at the institute too. People come in and they
Yeah,
say, I want to, recreate, whatever. And I'm like, Jesus, like why? It's
yeah,
already been done, what's the point?
exactly.
But I guess
So,
the point
so,
is
so,
success.
so I'm personally very happy with this development, though, because it means that, like it looks like there's a lot of competition, but basically there isn't so much competition. So if you are an indie perfumer, if you have your own voice, if you're making your own formulas, and you're not just trying to be the next Gedashin or Quentin or whatever, like famous perfumers making the Santal 33 and Ganymede and Baccarat Rouge and starting a brand with all the classics in place. You can do it's not that hard. It's not that hard actually.
Are there on the topic, and then we'll get a little bit to audience questions, but are there any pet peeves, like things that drive you nuts about what you're seeing in the sort of indie? I know I'm setting you up for a rant, but what are things that you wish would stop, or would change, or
Um,
in the current indie scene?
mm,
And bear in mind, this is going to go on the internet, so
Yeah, exactly. So that's why
careful what you say.
yeah, I think I need the next 20 minutes to think about this question. No, there's definitely I think okay, so sometimes when I get a little bit like, huh, like I think people are um but this is not just in perfumery. This is social media in general. Like many people, I think, just repost or you hear somebody say something, and then before you know it, everybody starts repeating it and reposting, and I'm very often thinking like, did you actually check any of the information that you are so comfortably reposting here, like that, I don't know, certain raw material is this or smells like this or like that or whatever, like for me, it's very funny to read Baruti reviews on Fragrantica, and I do that once in a while because sometimes you see reviews of people who, like are almost confident they can know the formula, and
Uh-huh.
they go, yeah, and there's this and there's that, and I'm like, no, there's nothing of
Well,
that in
I know
there.
totally.
So this is where I feel like, oh, like tone down, like okay.
Do you ever take the time to correct them?
No, are
I
you
guess
kidding? I'm not
no.
the perfume police, and I'm never gonna be the
No,
perfume
I
police.
know, but I'm just curious, like if ever you feel like
No, no, I just laugh. It's
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
The perfume police is an interesting thing because at the institute we're off, especially with the awards, we're often called upon to police certain things, like prove that this person made the perfume, and there is that sort of desire in perfumery and indie perfumery to get to the truth of things. Everyone sort of wants to get to the truth of things because there are so many, smoke and mirrors and stuff. Like, do you ever feel like it doesn't really matter? This is more a philosophical
You
question.
mean in relation to the
Well,
award?
like for instance, if someone says this is an all natural fragrance, and then,
Oh, don't get me
you know,
started.
okay, well, what's your thought on that?
I don't know, like I think I don't like okay, then this is the psychologist in me, like I feel like, oh, people are so insecure, like they think that if they need some labels to claim the quality, or like why their product is important or good, and I'm like, but and then they go in great lengths to claim BS, like because okay, of course, with natural, there's so many definitions of natural, but in most cases, yeah, no, what is sold as natural isn't. And or people, yeah, I know, and like, and of course, I don't know how this is going to resonate, but like the imposter syndrome. So many people who call themselves perfumer when they've never set foot in a lab, and I'm like, yeah, why are you doing that to yourself? You're just
Yeah.
making your life
Or a
miserable
nose or
because you have to live a lie until the end of time for that.
yeah.
Just
You mean
and
like brand
nobody's
owners that say
nobody's
they're the
gonna
per
care.
Spirits, you mean like
Nobody.
brand do you mean like brand owners that say they're perfumers, or what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm
Okay.
like, nobody cares, like if you have a good product and perfumer X made it for you, why not say, why do you think that if people you're gonna sell more if you convince people that you made it and then one day it comes out that actually, you know what, you didn't. They come all from Robertet or from Man or from IFF. I don't know. I don't I and yeah, but that's one thing where I feel like, oh man, I couldn't do it. It sounds terrible. It's like a complete miserable to live a lie like that.
Yeah.
But okay, everybody makes their own choices. So if they think that this is important to them, then like, again, I'm not the perfume police. So
Spiros, not the perfume police. I get you a shirt.
yeah,
So, where do you see this all going for you for the fragrance space? Well, like for instance, for a while you were working uh with Frederick, what's and I
Centronics,
Centronics, working
algorithmic
with
perfumery.
AI and scent.
Yeah, I had to
So share a
quit
little
that
bit.
position because I moved to Greece last year, so I wasn't able to combine it anymore. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, AI, it was a very, it's an interesting project, and I think in perfumery, like, I mean, AI is kind of like I think yeah. Again, I have to be careful. Like I think it has potential, but it has potential mostly for the mundane work, like the repetitive. So if I was again, because a lot of people asked me when at the time when I joined that company, like, hey, are you crazy? Why are you doing this? You're like you're shooting yourself and you're robbing yourself from because you're going to make yourself what do you call
Obsolete.
obsolete and everything. And I was like, no, actually, that's not the case, because there always will be interest. People will always want to have something from a person, like they want something that is made by somebody with a vision. So that's one. And then in the case, with AI, of course, like if I was an analytical perfumer who is sitting behind a GCMS reconstructing perfumes all the time, I think AI can do that much faster and much easier because you feed it the data and it tells you, okay, these are the essential oils that are inside. This is the formula. Have fun with it. So it can do it faster and it can do it more accurate. So for sure, that kind of jobs might suffer. Also, perfumers who are working at big companies doing dupes all the time, AI is also much better do that because you can just press on a button and tell it, okay, make me 20 variations of this formula, and you can smell them, and some of them will be amazing, some will be not so amazing. So, okay, but coming up with new stuff, we're not there yet. And I don't, and even when AI is there, it doesn't mean that there's not gonna be space for people who are also able to do that. Like creative wise. So you can ask AI to make you something that has never been done before. Fine, sure, but you can also do that yourself. I don't think there's a competition there. I think they're just complementing
Do you
each
do
other.
you do you see yourself in your own sort of practice making use of AI for fragrance in the future, or do you think you've sort of left that, something
Um,
to good?
well, I mean, so at the moment, I don't. Centronics, algorithmic perfumery, every human is a very specific project.
Hmm.
So I'm. Yeah, I mean, I'm still in contact with the guys. There's no reason, but they don't need to help me with anything. Um, I don't know. Like, there's also Osmo, for
Osmo's
example,
Generation by Osmo, and there's
who's
also oh shoot, what are they called? Ethan's outfit, Ethan Turner's outfit. Scent something. I'll
yeah, there's some companies that are doing that, but for me at the moment, no, I don't see myself. I don't have the need for doing that because I'm doing mostly original work. So at least for Baruti, I'm doing original work. Like I said, sometimes I also get bespoke requests, and then if somebody insists that they want a Santal 33 knockoff, okay, sure, well, we'll do it.
Would you do it?
Yeah.
Really?
What do you mean?
Would you make the Santal 33 knockoff?
Yeah, I'm not gonna sign it, but I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
Oh, but why do it if you're not proud of it? Like, I don't know.
Because we already started a collaboration, so it's not like they tell me up front I want that. But
Oh, I
if
see. It evolves
yeah,
into
so
that.
it
Oh, I
evolves,
see.
like
What if
so
someone
so
came to you up front and said, "Hey, I want to hire you to create a Santal 33 knockoff"?
usually I give them a price tag that scares them off and then they leave me alone.
Okay, cool. But so for the right price, you would do it, is what I'm hearing.
So if they want to pay the price, yeah, so then yes, I guess I
You're
would
a
do it.
sellout. Shame on you. All right, guys, we're getting to the point where we have just a few minutes for audience questions. So a couple, Gina asks if you have any advice regarding marketing, which do you?
Um, I mean, again, I don't think I'm the best marketeer. Um, I wouldn't know. I mean, obviously, social media, interesting content. If you are a perfumer, post a bit behind the scenes, how you do it. All these things are easily going viral on Instagram and on TikTok. Um, I'm actually not doing that myself enough because so far I didn't have like I have a marketing team or a company that helps me, but they are not close by. So like I would love to post more videos of like of our lab, of the materials, of how we work. This is something that I have in the pipeline with the new space in Athens and everything because the team is expanding. So we will definitely get into that. And I think other than that, just, I don't know, I think, for example, if you want to, so I think I suck at marketing. If you want to know, if you want to see a brand that's doing great marketing, I think, in my opinion, Fugazi, for example, from the Netherlands, they are fucking brilliant. Sorry, pardon my French. But there's so few examples, like when you go to their booth at a Essence, it's like, okay, come on, who comes up with these things? This is amazing. So I'm not the right person to ask when it
Are
comes
there any
to.
other brands you think are doing it particularly well? Like, for instance, I have
Well, Fugazi comes to mind because they are very relatively young, so they are like a very, very yeah. And I think the guy I've spoken a couple of times to them. But it's not like I don't know him so well. He's an art school dude, so probably yeah. His
anybody else?
trained. I love Nasomato, and I
Yeah.
think historically, his yeah, he was very like the provocative, the having fun with the provocation. And this is also something that, I try, yeah, also feels very natural to me. I think with Baruti, we also do that very often, except that we are not as successful, but
With
okay.
your I think it was Perverso, you had an ad campaign that actually reminded me of my other in spirit of my other favorite ad campaign in perfume, which is by DS and Durga, where they had a fruit and they had a man fingering the the orange, and it was the most
Oh, right. Okay.
erotic, not erotic ad I'd ever seen.
Right. Yeah.
And for Perverso,
Exactly.
you put out an
We had
image,
an oyster.
the oyster with the
Yeah.
pearls,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a lot of people found it offensive. I got a
Yeah.
lot. I got a couple of hate mails for that one, but it's
Which is
okay.
crazy to me
Or
because it
yeah,
was just, I mean, it
yeah.
was an oyster.
For me, it's like like I mean, you have to understand. If you don't see this is fun, this is humor, this is supposed to be like yeah. For me, that's so clear. But okay, I guess not everybody got it, so which is fine.
So Jean-Sébastien, and so sorry, Amanda, I'll get to your question too, but Jean-Sébastien has a question which is I think pretty appropriate for you. Out of all the creative ideas that you have for new perfumes, how do you choose what to work on next when creative time is limited because you run a business?
Well, I have the luxury to have two people working in the lab for me, so they weight my formulas. So even when my creative time is limited, I have people who can still um, compound formulas and everything. So I'm doing the evaluation. I'm writing the formulas for Baruti, and I'm doing the evaluation with the team. Um, and also, especially when I'm working on my projects of my own, I always take my time. So, and because perfumery is a slow process, um, there's always like 20, 30 projects open. And so it's not like I say, oh, now I want to work on a incense perfume or on a grapefruit perfume. It's like, no, I'm working on everything at the same time. And whatever progresses faster reaches a point where I feel like, okay, this is done. This is amazing. Okay, I'm launching it. And sometimes it means that there's no launches for 3 years. Sometimes there's three launches in 1 year. Again, like the good thing of being an independent brand, in my opinion, is that you don't have to answer to anybody, including the market or whatever. So I literally do what I want. But of course, yeah, there's also other people who, for whatever reason, they want to release something at a certain fixed intervals or something like that. So then, that you have to finish it and launch it. I don't personally work like that. I work like that for other brands because then they tell me, okay, like 6 months, I want the formula to be done. Okay, perfect. We finish it in 6 months, and that's it. But yeah, so
Do you think there's a
yeah.
possibility of over releasing? I mean, do you think that there are, and we won't name names, but do you think there are brands that are over producing fragrance? And do you think that's
You would have to ask these brands and their numbers. I don't know. So from an outsider point of view, sometimes I'm like, oh, really? Like, and what I discovered marketing wise, for example, when I launched in 2024. So yeah, when I launched Laurakimu, Hot Cotton, and Mono no Abare, which was not even intentional. I was supposed to launch only one, and then the other two got people got so enthusiastic about them that I thought, okay, I'm launching three, I guess. In my experience, this was it was unintentionally a very clever move in the sense that, like in marketing, they say, there's always like the example where you have a Pepsi Cola, a fridge and a Coca-Cola fridge, or you have both, and where do you sell more? And the answer is the store that has both, because then the choice is not, do I want a Coke or do I want a Pepsi, but do I want Coke or do I want Pepsi? So you sell more. And so I discovered by
you, sorry,
coincidence
can
that
you, what you mean is
launching
that, sorry, Spyros, you said the question is not, do I want a Coke or a Pepsi, but do I want a
exactly.
Coca-Cola?
So if you have a fridge and it has only Pepsi or it has only Coca-Cola,
Oh, so the
the
question is not,
question
do I
is,
want a
do
soda
I
or not?
want? Yes,
Do I want a Pepsi or a Coke? Got it. Okay.
exactly. So you sell more. So the store that has both sells more,
Okay.
even though it's counterintuitive to a lot of people. And then so in my case, when I launched three perfumes at once, I was also like discovered that okay, people were choosing their favorite, which is way more interesting approach than having a new one and all the old ones,
Right.
even if that changes every 3 months.
Right.
Because then there's the new one, they like it, they don't like it, and then they wait for the next one. And if you give them a choice, then they start, like you have all
Which of the
these
three
like,
will I
oh
buy?
no, this is my
Yeah.
so although I mean I didn't anticipate I just discovered it by that. So from that time I decided, okay, from now on, if I'm launching multiple perfumes at once
Okay.
for that
Let's move
reason.
on to the next question. So Anthony LaRusso says, and I quote, Damacupa is so amazing. That honey richness with the iris is such a unique combination. Is there a story behind how you came up with this formula? Everyone should have this iris in their collection, which I do. I agree. Spyros, what's the story
Thank you
behind
very much.
Damacupa?
The story about Damacupa is that it's like Berlin in winter. It's also a spin-off from Indigo in the sense that it started as a rework, and then it got its own uh, uh,
Profile.
theme and character and everything. So at the end, and yeah, I wanted to make something like I like the name Damakupa, Queen of Hearts. So I wanted to have something that would be sexy and sophisticated, not too pretty. So yeah, so it's kind of like the idea of taking indigo in a certain direction, but also having this kind of end result. There's this very beautiful picture from one of my favorite Dutch photographers, Urban Olaf, where he did a photograph for the Rijksmuseum. I don't remember the name of the model, but it's kind of like this Baroque, contemporary Baroque picture. So that was kind of like my idea, like. What I wanted for Damakupa to be. So
And you're talking about Erwin Olaf, is that right?
Orban Olaf, yeah, he's a Dutch photographer.
That's
He died a couple of years ago, unfortunately. He's done, yeah, quite a lot of.
Is
In the
this
Netherlands, he's quite famous.
yeah, it's
Um,
sort of Baroque almost.
yeah, so there's this picture he done for Rijksmuseum. This is like the super powdered wig. Uh,
This one.
yeah, this one exactly.
Yeah.
So this was kind of
Amazing.
like
So
this was my
This is Damakupa.
This was the inspiration for Damakupa for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very nice.
yeah.
So we have time for one more question, and I think and Amanda, I do apologize, but it's a big question you asked, which I don't think we're gonna have time for. But Daela wanted to know if you found it easier to meet your vision or someone else's vision in the creative process, in terms of timing and perfectionism. Do you have a preference in terms of
I used to think that I like to work on my own stuff more, but I have to admit that entering collaborations, and especially if it's like a creative collaboration, so not somebody who wants to have a certain knockoff perfume, um, allows me or makes me make choices that I wouldn't do. So you still end up with stuff where I was like, yeah, this is amazing. I don't think I would have come up with this formula myself
mm,
because it's just because as much as I want to give myself ultimate freedom and everything, there's things where just my mind doesn't come up with, and then somebody else's does. And so
mm.
when this happen, it's magic. It's really cool.
Has there
Um,
been a collaboration you've done that you particularly really like hold in high esteem? You really remember
Well,
well?
I think yeah. So in recent years, I did Seekwood with a Dutch brand, Anindria. Which is exactly that. Like it's a perfume that I don't think I would have come up with this formula just by myself. So it's definitely a collaboration. Um, Om for zoologists also released last year was also a perfume where Victor had an idea was like, you really you want that? You're sure you want this for okay? So then, but then it works and people are raving about it. So
So
that's
what
yeah,
was the thing
super
that
cool.
Victor wanted that you didn't think would work?
Well, kind of like this very petrichor wet, like Olm is like a worm thing that lives in caves underwater. So it's not exactly a sexy animal or anything. And the scent had to be modern, contemporary, but also quite abstract. So there is basically everything but the kitchen sink in terms of aldehydes, nitriles, metallic, mineral, salty stuff there. So it's. I was like, yeah, I don't think I would have ever made that formula if it wasn't a request.
This
So
is what we're talking about here.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And any others that you can think of?
From the top of my head, well, I mean, I've done quite a few collaborations. There's also, yeah, sometimes also, like I work in the Netherlands also with a company called Nose and Partners, and we do a lot of retail, so ambient scents a lot. So th that also very often leads to projects where I'm like, okay, yeah, this is super cool, and yeah, I don't think I would have come up with it by myself if it wasn't ordered. So there's a bit of me inside, but there's also definitely the other party who wants something. So yeah.
Well, cool. So, folks, we're out of time, but I just want to take a moment just to do, and I'm sorry in advance, but a little promo. This is Spyros's website. You know, if you haven't checked out his work, I mean, do now that you know all about it. You have no excuse not to. All right, everyone, have a wonderful day. Stay optimistic despite all odds. And you know, we'll see everybody hopefully in the future.
Next time.
Next time, yes. Oh, and in Athens, June 11th, the
Uh,
awards. Everyone should.
of course, yes.
Yes, yes. All right,
All
everyone,
right.
have a
Thank
lovely
you,
day.
everybody. Thank you so much for joining.
All right, bye, Spiros. Thank you.